At the beginning of 2016 at Imola, and the idea of this championship inspired by the 24 Hours of Le Mans and run by the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, really as the GTC category in the European Le Mans Series ended and GT3 Le Mans Cup, as it was known in 2016, came into being. For 2017, the series featuring LMP3 cars for the first time, along with GT3s, and they're competing in their respective classes, with the ACO aiming to create a kind of secondary division for the P3 cars, and we may even have promotion and relegation at the end of the season. My name's Johnny Palmer. Thank you for joining us. I'm delighted to say I'm joined to my right-hand side by Graham Goodwin, who is the editor of dailysportscar.com and a fantastic commentator in his own right. Great to have him on board again for season 2017, and all of these cars look fantastic ahead of the new year.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Johnny. Yes, it's a very good-looking grid for the 2017 Michelin Le Mans Cup, and the beautifully, well, what would you say, that's a kind of almost matte orange SVC. SVC, by the way, Scuderia Vittoria Villorba Corsa. We'll see them later on in the main ELMS qualifying session this afternoon, but with this fabulous-looking Lamborghini Huracan GT3, one of 5 GT3 cars in this field, but joined by no fewer than 15 LMP3 cars, which combined with the grid for the LMS will make this the biggest gathering of LMP3 cars we've ever seen anywhere on the planet so far. There's the second Lamborghini Huracan, the EB Motors car, a lovely deep royal blue, this car with a kind of flat gold that just really pings that car. It looks absolutely spectacular. Great to see blue skies here for the first time this week since we landed, and the mountains clearly visible. Picture postcard perfect here at Monza, and we're going to get some good running, I think, here, Johnny. 21 degrees in the air.
A fabulous place to go motor racing. 5.7 kilometres, 3.6 miles, 11 turns. They don't use the banked oval here anymore, but much of that still exists, and I was lucky enough to just head out there to have a look at kind of turn 1 of the banked oval, which just evokes an awful lot of memory. This place has welcomed motorsport since 1922 when it was first built. They first opened in September of that year, and ever since the Formula 1 Championship came into being, I think apart from 1 year, this place has welcomed the Formula 1 Grand Prix to Italy. Designed by Alfredo Rosselli, and it is a real one to tame. Yes, you've got the extra chicanes now at Varianti del Rettifilo and also della Roggia as well, where those used to be straights, but otherwise it is a full commitment circuit. The 2 Lesmos, a great opportunity to overtake, and some time can be gained and lost in that part of the circuit during qualifying. Curva del Seraglio is not really a corner, it's just a little bit of a left-hand kink as you dip underneath the bridge and the old-school banking down to Variante Ascari, and then that long run down the straight towards Parabolica, which is by no means a constant radius corner, much tighter on the entry, and then it opens up gently onto a very wide start and finish straight towards the timing line. We have 2 qualifying sessions in one, effectively, 2 15-minute chunks separated by about 10 minutes, and the first session is going to see the 5 GT3 cars in the entry head out onto the asphalt and try and set good times for the opening race of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. And as per the regulations, we will have 5 bronze drivers taking part in qualifying, and that's another great element of this championship, trying to get mileage and experience into your bronze driver. They have a big responsibility here, Graham, to actually get the car well placed on the grid.
3, 2, 1. Pit exit is open for the GT qualifying session.
And that is the race director, Eduardo Freitas, who is allowing the session to start, and 15 minutes starts to count down, Graham.
Just in case you were confused, of course, that was Eduardo Freitas, not me responding to Johnny. But yep, 5 GT3 cars for this opening round. There will be many more for round 2, which will be a double header for the first time, Road to Le Mans race at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The support races there, 1 race on Thursday, 1 race on race morning, 55 minutes each, and a glittering grid of GT3 cars to join that. We will see other cars join this series, already confirmed for the full season beyond this race is it's pretty a surprise entry to me, the Gulf Racing UK outfit we see in the FRWC with a Porsche 911 GT3R. This is the new look 8th. This is the new look for Optimum Motorsport's Audi R8 LMS. It will be Flick Haig at the wheel of this car. And just a few white highlights on that car we've not seen before.
And Flick given a little bit of a telling off by the stewards earlier on the weekend for overtaking a car under the red flag. Thankfully that is a suspended penalty though, so no further repercussions, hopefully, as long as that car doesn't overtake anybody else under a red flag for the rest of the season. So down towards the Variante Ascari for the first time. We're going to talk about sectors during this session, just to give you an indication about sectors. The first sector starts at the finish line effectively and runs all the way through the first chicane and then through Curva Grande, and just before you get to the second chicane, that's the end of Sector 1. Sector 2 starts from that point through turns 4 and 5 through the two Lesmos and ends about where the bridge is for the oval, where that crosses the Grand Prix circuit. So dip underneath and you hit the end of Sector 2, and Sector 3 starts there and runs all the way to the timing line on the start-finish straight.
And with the professional drivers aboard these cars, 149, 150 in a GT3 car with in this trim is what you'd be looking for. Of course, we are here looking at the bronze drivers. Flick, the first of those to actually begin a flying lap, and 4 of the 5 already out on the circuit. In fact, all 5 now out on the circuit. Romain Vos has now joined proceedings. With just 12.5 minutes to go, these are pretty quick fire sessions, and tucked in behind Lee Mole in the Lee Mole Motorsport, I think it's entered as,
yes,
rather than ND
LMM.
Tuning. Yeah, the number 7 Mercedes. We'll talk about the dramas that car had a little later in the session, in yesterday's free practice. But the SVC management, the orange Lamborghini Huracan tucked in behind Lee. So it's Romain Vos we'll see in the Ram number 5 AMG. That's the flat grey car with the orange highlights. Lee Mole in this red and white Mercedes AMG GT3. Cedric Mazar in the number 8 Huracan we're looking at there. Then Emanuele Busnelli in the 46 CP Motors car, and Flick Haig in the Optimum Motorsport Audi we've already seen. And is out on her flying lap right now.
3 of these teams are British. We have EB Motors from Italia, and we have SVC Sport Management, the Austrian outfit, with Cedric Mazar at the wheel, as you say. Stevie S is the gold driver, and all these teams do have gold pilots as well, but they're not permitted to take part in qualifying. We'll see them in the race, and I would guess that, generally speaking, the GT3 cars will start with their bronze. And actually there is one exception, because Fabio Babini expected to be at the wheel of the 46 Lamborghini Huracan to start the race later today. So Babini for the opening stint, and then they'll be handing over to Emanuele Busnelli to take that car to the flag. So I would anticipate, as far as the GT3 element of this race is concerned, to see Babini in the lead early, and then it's a question of everyone chasing him down, which would be a real good element to this race.
First effort and first flying lap goes to Flick Haig, first out of course in the session. 154.4 from Flick, and that is the target for everybody else in the under 11 minutes now to go. And these will be names you'll recognise from watching other GT racing around the planet, including the Michelin Le Mans Cup last year for several of these drivers, including Flick Haig, who's joined by Joe Osborne. They had a one-off outing in the series at Paul Ricard last year, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And Romain Vos and Tom Onslow Cole have done a bit of racing with the Creventic series in the 24 hours, and that was at Mugello, I seem to remember. Yes, for the 24-hour series. Second round of that championship. And Romain Vos is the man who puts much of the money behind the team at Ram Racing at the moment. Dan Shuttlebottom runs that establishment. Car number 5 you're looking at for, and there it is, turning left, right, left at the Variante Ascari.
And that's, well, it's all a big switch there for Romain Vos. Got the car onto the curbs and almost lost the car. Did very well to gather it up, actually.
Incredibly well, wasn't it? I mean, I thought, unfortunately, that was going to be a big incident, but Romain Vos presumably got well out of the throttle and gathered up the moment. Again, the car moving around on the road, though. That was under the brakes as he pitched the car in through the first part of the Parabolica. And as I say, the corner just opens up very gently and over the grid hatchings. So he will have lost time here, but thankfully the car is still straight for Vos.
But he actually finishes that lap, his second fastest, albeit I think he may well have lost that lap time for with track limits, won't it, of course, because it basically flung him off the track. So Eduardo Freitas, I'm sure, will have removed that lap time, and he has. But it was good enough, by the way, for a 1:57. Here comes Flick Haig again to complete her second flying lap. 1:54.4 was the target. It's 1:51 now. 1:51.621 for Flick Haig. That's a big improvement at the moment. With the rest of the cars to come around and complete their second flying laps, it's a 6.5 second advantage. That was a big moment for Ramon Vos.
And the Armco barrier is very close to the track. There's very little runoff here at Monza, full stop, but particularly on the exit of Ascari, there is a bit of a service road, effectively. And thankfully, Ramon Vos was able to just launch himself onto that service road where there was plenty of grip, but that is counted to be off the track, effectively, and as Graham says, that lap deleted. We're also hearing about car number 8, the Cedric Mezard-driven Lamborghini of EB Motors, having the last lap that car did deleted because of a track limits infringement.
Fortunato Busnelli in this EB Motors car and looking good to go to the top of timing. Ascari and does so. 1:50.783 is the time for the number 46 Lamborghini Huracan. So identically engined cars, first and second, the Lamborghini and the Audi, both using the, it has to be said, stunning V10 engine that is shared by both the Lamborghini road and race cars and the Audi road and race cars, the R8 and the Huracan. But fabulous sound, huge power, and being put to good use by both Emanuele Busnelli and Flick Haig. 0.8 of a second now, the gap between the two. 1:50.783 is the mark for Flick to try to beat. He's coming around with a shot at doing that.
Busnelli up in the first sector as well, so if he continues on, set to better the 1:50.7. But here comes Flick Haig, managing to shortcut the straight as much as possible. There is a little bit of a kink there, but she does not improve. So that car number 75 from Optimum Motorsport still second fastest. Actually, there was improvement there.
She closed the gap by 3 tenths, but just under half a second is the gap between Busnelli and Flick Haig. So 1:51.237 that time around for Flick. That's not a bad time at all.
And down underneath the bridge comes the blue and gold number 46 Lamborghini, Emanuele Busnelli, who is up in the first sector. He's up in the second sector, so this is about to be an improvement if he can carry this pace through down the straight out of Ascari into Parabolica and over the line.
And these times are important, Johnny, of course, for the race tomorrow, because the gap between the pros and the AMs are going to be very important across the 2 hours of race action we're going to see. And getting close as you can to 1:50 is going to be a very good thing indeed. Here comes Busnelli, 1:50.783 it was.
And not taking the Flick Haig line this time. He'll split the timing then, and posts still waiting for the time to come through. Transponder's not triggered, has it?
It's either not triggered.
No, it has. But I think that was inserted manually, possibly.
1:49.980. That is a very good time indeed.
So up in the second sector, up in the first sector, but actually no. Well, it's a good time, it's through Sector 3, but it wasn't a personal best for Emanuele, nor was it an absolute best. But he'd done such good work through Sectors 1 and 2 already. That is the best combined lap, if you like, from all 3 sectors. 5 minutes and 40 seconds to go. And the red and white Limol Motorsport Mercedes AMG heading downhill and uphill after ducking under the banking here at Monza, now through the complex of left-right, left corners at Ascari. That is the line that you should be taking rather than the Clement Vos approach and exit of Ascari.
This car making its comeback, it's got to be said, after a not inconsiderable fuel fire for this car earlier in the weekend. The rear of the car suffering some damage, and then the team finding a further fuel leak which prevented it taking part in free practice 2 to any meaningful degree. But coming back, Limol 1:54.7 props up the 5 at the moment. It's a gap of 4.7 seconds, but is improving on every lap. In fact, improves there and brings the gap down by a further second.
The Lamborghini number 8, driven by Cedric Mezard, that was improvement as well. The position actually not improved, but 1:51.890 last time around is the car's best lap, and actually everybody is finding improvement steadily. They're all personal bests last time around on laps 4 or 5, depending on how quickly they got out from the pits.
Great conditions for these GT cars. Rely a lot on the mechanical as well as the aerodynamic grip from the various appendages these fabulous looking GT cars, but the gaps are, well, coming down. The lap time's certainly coming down. It's Busnelli from Haig, Mezard, Voss and Mole at the moment. 46 Lamborghini from the 75 Audi, the number 8 Lamborghini, then the 5 Mercedes-Benz, then the 7 Mercedes-Benz.
Flick Haig's just gone quicker than anybody through the middle sector with 4 minutes to go. This long run out of Variante Ascari and down to the Parabolica then important. About the exit speed really out of Ascari, making sure that you reach the optimum speed down the straight, no pun intended. A little bit of a wiggle there as she applied the brake into Parabolica and using just a touch of curb on the exit, then really straight lining that bit of a kink as they come onto the main straight, and she goes to provisional pole position. Flick Haig in car 77 for Optimum Motorsport. It's a 1:49.827, Graham.
It is. Busnelli has matched her sector one time. We'll see what the second sector looks like for the chasing now Lamborghini. But that's a great time from Flick Haig. Great response. Picked up almost 6/10 of a second. In fact, actually 7/10 of a second on a previous best to grab provisional pole position. 3 minutes to go. 46 EB Motors Huracan is pushing, does go purple in the second sector, fastest overall. It was the third sector where he dropped a little bit of time last time, remember. If he can nail this, pole position could be within the grasp of, well, effectively the more local car here for the EB Motors.
Yes, their home race, and signed up for the full season as far as we can understand, so trips still to come in Austria, in France, in Belgium, and we end the season once again in Portugal. So over the line then comes Busnelli to go top, and the 46 car clear by 82 thousandths of a second. Busnelli back to Flick Haig. So this is very close competition between the Optimum Motorsport Audi and the EB Motors Lamborghini Huracan.
Yeah, dash it all, I'm sure will have been the words from the Optimum Motorsport camp. But 1:49.7 plays 1:49.8. Then it's a 1:51.8 from Cedric Mezard.
And a big moment for Haig as she came onto the straight. That was almost the Raymond Voss line in the Audi. So kicking up the dust as Flick left the Variante Ascari and again pushing the track limit. So Eduardo Freitas might have something to say about that as Raymond Voss comes over the line in car number 5, up as far as a personal best time sector 2, but does not improve his overall time.
And just a note, by the way, the 2 Mercedes AMG GT3s, the number 7 of Lee Mole, the number 5, this car of Raymond Voss, separated by 5 thousandths of a second on their best lap time for currently 4th and 5th on this GT3 grid.
And Flick Haig does have that lap 7 time deleted because of running over the white line, all 4 wheels off on the exit of Ascari. Here comes the number 8 Lamborghini Huracan, driven by Cedric Mezard with a minute to go. So Cedric's going to get another lap out of this. That more improvement for the Frenchman, 1:51.452, but doesn't improve the position of the Lamborghini on the provisional grid. For SVC Sport Management, that car at the moment will start 3rd.
And remember, as we said before, these lap times, whilst not necessarily challenging for the pole position here, it's good track experience for these guys. They're looking for race pace as well. They've not had a huge amount of time at the wheel of the cars this weekend so far. Flick Haig pushing hard, quickest for that car and for Flick herself in sector 1.
Busnelli's gone even quicker though, and
Wow.
opened the gap up now to 0.185 of a second. So the new provisional pole time is a 1:49.6 for Emanuele Busnelli, and he managed to go faster than anybody else through sectors 2 and 3 on that lap.
So Flick Haig looking for what she can do and doesn't improve, I'm afraid, in the middle sector.
Little bit ragged, I thought, through the Lesmos there. She turned in and needed almost a bit of opposite lock through Lesmo 2 just to straighten the car up, and that will have lost some time. But nevertheless, the 1:49.827 is running Busnelli close. The problem for Flick is there's only 5 seconds of the session to go, so she'll see the checkered flag this time around. It was all about this lap to try and improve, and she's going to run out of time as Raymond Voss crosses the line to see the checkered flag. So car 5 already home, that car doing a 1:53.331. Flick Haig bails out of it indeed, not well, realising she wasn't onto anything special for that lap. So Optimum Racing will start no better than 2nd, but it will be effectively a front row start in the GT3 element of the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Well, Busnelli realistically now confirmed as pole position for this first round of the 2017 Michelin Le Mans Cup in the I think, beautifully liveried EB Motors Lamborghini Huracan. So it's Lamborghini from Audi, from Frédéric Mazard in the second Lamborghini, then the two Mercedes-Benz.
And Limol did stay out for one more lap, no improvement, but nevertheless he came within half a second of his qualifying time, his best qualifying time, 1:53.3 for Lee in the LMM Mercedes, the red and white car, and Mezar in the orange Lamborghini pits, as indeed does Emanuele Busnelli.
And let's not forget, by the way, we're going to be seeing 5 pro drivers to join the 5 Valiant non-pros.
Interestingly, Busnelli was up through sector 1 and 2 there, but decided not to finish the lap, so he could have improved yet further, but already had pole and kind of thought there's not much point in doing another. There's always another point in doing another lap around Monza with Fabio Babini's name on the side of the car, and it will be Fabio to start that machine from pole position in GT3 later on today, Graham.
And Fabio, a massive history in GT racing, including, would you believe, a Le Mans class win back as far as 2001 in the GT class. Fabio in a Porsche back then. So Fabio, one of those 5 pros that we'll see at the wheel of these cars. Tom Onslow Cole, we've already mentioned, will join Raymond Vos in the Ram Racing number 5 Mercedes-Benz. Phil Keane will join Lee Mole in the number 7 Lee Mole racing car. Stevie S, we saw him last year in the Michelin GT3 Le Mans Cup, is back for another crack at it with Cedric Mazard in the number 8 SVC Sport Management Lamborghini, and Joe Osborne joins Flick Haig in the 75 Optimum Racing Audi.
And that will do us as far as GT3 is concerned, but we have another session to come very shortly, again for 15 minutes, where there will be the sound of 5-litre Nissan engines rattling around the Monza circuit, and they really do make this kind of ground-shaking grumble. We have 14 Ligiers, the JSP3 variety, and 1 Norma, the M30 for DKR Engineering, and so 15 LMP3 cars about to head out onto track for the first ever action in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. First of all, though, confirmation of the order and the times for the GT3s. EB Motors and their Lamborghini number 46 setting pole position at 1:49.642. And it was a really interesting dice there between the driver of the 46 car, Emanuele Busnelli, and Flick Haig for Optimum Racing. 0.185 of a second, the gap in the end. To start third will be Cedric Mazard in the number 8 Lamborghini, that car for SVC Sport Management, and it will be Mazard to start that car. Fourth position being the Lee Mole Motorsport Mercedes AMG, Lee to start that car later on today, and fifth fastest was Raymond Vos of the Netherlands, bronze driver doing the qualifying for Ram Racing, and Raymond Vos will start that car later as well. Now, chat after getting pole position in that session.
I have indeed. I'm down here in the pit lane with a very happy man. Yeah. Pole position for effectively your home race.
Yeah, I'm very happy actually. It's my best lap here in Monza this time. The car was really good. And I'm very, very happy. Yes, it's true. I mean, I could do something better, but it was fun. Yeah, really fun.
Well, you can save that for the race, surely.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
And almost to prove the point, he nearly did do something better, of course, because he'd set an absolute best through sector 1 and 2, and if he'd finished that lap, he would have gone even quicker, but there kind of wasn't any need. He had that 0.185 of a second buffer back to the Optimum Racing Audi, and it's going to be fascinating to see the EB Motors Lamborghini go from pole position with Fabio Babini to start that car, and then Emanuele Busnelli with quite a responsibility, because presumably that car will come into the pits after the hour mark, and he will take it over. Emanuele will take it over and have to try and keep it in the lead. So that will be a really good thing to watch in GT3, and of course the other gold drivers will be hunting him down. Tom Onslow Cole, Phil Keane, Stevie S and Joe Osborne.
So LMP3 cars next as we watch Emanuele Busnelli.
Yeah, battering the curbs down at Variante Ascari. Again, track limits, a bit of an issue there. You can take plenty of curb. Most of the time the curb's considered to be the track, but if you get all the car over the curb, then the clerk of the course, the steward of the meeting, can start to take issue with that. Generally it starts with a warning. then you might get a black and white warning flag for driving standards, and then it can result in more severe penalties. But this, I suppose, is the time to test the track limits during practice and possibly a little bit in qualifying as well, where the penalties aren't that severe, and then hopefully you'll know where the limits are during the race.
P3 cars on pit lane. Just a quick look there at Nico Pronk aboard the Cox Racing entered Ligier, the number 48 car owned by Nico. And this is
chance to look back on the highlights from qualifying for the GT3s, though. That was the big moment for Raymond Vos, nearly in the barrier, and that would have been a lot of work for Ram Racing to do. Bearing in mind we're doing qualifying and the race on the same day, Vos scooping up that moment supremely well. Had to get out of the throttle, but it's not just a case of easing off the accelerator, because the car, as you could see, lost balance entirely, swinging from left to right. A classic tank slapper. And there really isn't much room in places on this Monza circuit between the edge of the track and something very hard indeed. But well done to Raymond Vos, and indeed to Flick Haig, who had a bit of a moment as well coming out of Ascari. That'll be an area to watch once we come to race time. So a moment for just a moment of peace, perhaps, and to complement, to just think through the session that is coming up. And we'll give you some driver names in a moment or two in terms of who will be qualifying it, but bear in mind you have to stick your bronze driver in to qualify your P3 car, Graham.
That was a quick shot of Alan Costa aboard another newcomer to the ACO family here, the N-Race team, stepping up and over from the V2V series in their Ligier GSP3. 15 cars we're going to see in this session. This is the RLR M Sport car, number 14 car. And it will be Ross Warburton who takes this car out onto track. We saw Ross for a couple of races last season in the LMS. He's stepping back to the Michelin Le Mans Cup, mentored by Alex Capardia in this car, who'll be the only driver doing double duty in both this race and the ELMS in the Bolton-based team.
And Alex has been nominated to take the race starts. It's not quite as clean-cut as far as the start drivers are concerned as it is in the GT3 part of the race, because we have one or two non-bronze drivers starting the race later today.
5-litre Nissan V8 engines in all of these LMP3 cars. It's a standard engine and gearbox combination, all put together by the Orica organisation. X-Track gearbox, Nissan engine, 420 brake horsepower. So in just a few moments, if you look at the number 9 car, that is one of the Decane Engineering machines, and it will be, I'm not sure whether it's Jerry Krause or Joel Janko in this. It's two bronze drivers, two American drivers.
It is, and as per the regulations, it could be either of those.
It's Janko.
It's Janko on the screen, and we'll wait to see whether that flicks over, of course, as the cars work their way out onto the track. I suppose there's nothing to stop the team from switching drivers partway through the session. I don't know whether it has to be one driver to qualify it, or whether both bronze drivers can have a go.
SPV Racing, another team making, well, effectively their debut with ACO Wheels Racing. Although, Johnny, we did see this team, and I believe this car, with a one-off under another banner in the LMS last year, taking the entry at Spa for the by Speed Factory efforts. But they're stepping up for a full season here. It's great to have them. Nicely liveried yellow and black, almost bumblebee type livery on that car, but stands out well.
So about 30 seconds before we get underway for this 15 minutes, and we have all the cars effectively on the apron under starters' orders, with the man with the lollipop holding that in the visual area of each of the drivers. And as soon as the pit lane opens, the go sign will be lifted, and it will be a rush to the end of the pit lane, kind of to get there first, because you want the clear air and you want the clear track in order to set a quick time early on in the session.
Green flag, and 75 litres of Nissan power, 6,300 horsepower. That's locomotive levels, isn't it, really, about to be released. And there is the number 33 car we just saw on pit lane, the Ibran Pardo Javier entered car. Another car we've actually seen in the LMS competition. This time it was in Murphy prototype colours, that same chassis. Last year as a well-off in Imola. But out they stream. All bar one of these cars for this session will be the Well, now upon us, almost Ligier chassis. Over 100 of those cars now sold, and something over 90 now delivered.
Yes, it's been a real hit, this Ligier JS P3, hasn't it? And as Graham says, all powered by this same powertrain, regardless of the chassis type. So green flag's being waved down at the second chicane, and this is going to be interesting to see how these cars cope with a lot of curb action, because down at, for example, the first corner at the Rettifilo, the second part of the Rettifilo, the left-hander bit, has a huge sausage curb on the inside, and I think if one of these P3 cars goes a bit too much over that, it's going to really unsettle the car and potentially damage the underneath of it.
So all bar 3 of the cars have left the pits immediately to join this session, with 13.5 minutes still remaining on the clock. It is all the bronze drivers aboard the cars, and in numerical order, Jean Gloria in the DKR engineering car. This is the Norma. Expect that car to be very quick indeed in a straight line here. Joel Janko is at the wheel of number 9 Duquesne engineering car. Ross Warburton will take the wheel of the number 14 RLRM Sports Ligier. Then the 2 United Autosports cars, 22 in the hands of Jim Maguire and 23 in the hands of Sean Lynn. That's the Golf liveried car. The number 33 car we saw on pit road a moment ago, and that is in the hands of Matthias Bakker, the Dutch driver. Kia Racing, get to Kia Racing at some point, but that is in the hands of Murray Yoshiharu, the Japanese driver in the 43 car, Danish entered car. SPV Motorsports at number 44, black and yellow liveried car, is in the hands of Alvaro Fontes. Nico Pronk is in the 48 Cox Racing car. The 53 M Racing YMR Ligier will be in the hands of Juan Miller. And then Spirit of Race, aka AF Corsa, the 55 car, will be in the hands of the car's owner, Claudio Zdanovic. Graf Racing have a car in this race too, as well as the 2 LMP2 cars we'll see later in the LMS, and Adrien Chila, French driver, will be aboard that car. The 79 car, Nielsen Racing's car, will be Tony Wells. Eric de Donker in the Motorsport 98, number 98 car, the black and orange car. Then the N-Race, the 99 car we saw earlier, Alan Costa will be at the wheel of that car, and not far away from getting on to quick lap times, Johnny.
Concentrating on at the moment on Laurent Millara from the M Racing YMR squad, and Millara off the track through the second Lesmo there on the exit of that corner, then through the kink at Serralio, and then down towards the oval section underneath the bridge there, and Variante Ascari, an important braking area. Get the car settled, turn it in, make sure you don't take too much curb. Actually giving it a wide berth. The middle curb there was Millara, and then onto this effectively back straight, because it's parallel with the main start and finish straight. When you stand in the paddock, you've got cars whipping by on one side down the main start and finish straight, and then on the other side, on the return leg, heading for the Parabolica, which is this part of the circuit. Turning right there now. Already we've nearly rattled through 4 minutes of this 15-minute session. That's how long it takes, you see, to do an out lap, and then the first of your flying laps. And Nico Pronk only just joining the session now and crossing the line after his out lap. So Millara, unsurprisingly, goes top, and the time to beat in the early stages is a 151.504. Tony Wells going through 153.7, and Eric de Donker, the Belgian driver, 153.045 for the Motorsport 98 car.
And we're going to get some of these numbers going to become far more familiar, of course, down through the season, and these bronze-rated drivers in particular looking to improve the skill set, learn the trade of endurance racing. Many of them looking to take a step up in the future years to the European Le Mans Series, whether or not that's through the commercial market or indeed through promotion relegation, which is in the regulations for the series and the European Le Mans Series for next season, becoming an extremely popular class.
Alvaro Fontes now going fastest. So of the first handful of flying laps, Fontes quickest, 151.114. Again, that's a crew that could have started with Alvaro, could have started with Kim Rodshire.
Trouble
for 43, which is driven by the
Japanese driver, I think.
Okay, so car 43 has at the wheel Mori Yoshiharu for Kyo Racing, and that's at the first chicane, isn't it?
He's had a bit of a rotation.
This is braking, presumably.
This is the little Norma, the number 3 car, and unique in this field. We'll see a couple of them in the European Le Mans Series qualifying later. DKR Engineering, who have had outings, international sports cars in both GT and in LMP2 previously, but they're hanging. We've got a car without a wheel there somewhere. Somebody's lost a wheel.
Jean Cluriot goes to the top of the times, but more concerning for us at the Curva Grande is a loose wheel, and the car is just working its way down the straight towards the Lesmos, I think. No, on the return leg, in fact, the Parabolica turn. Graham's trying to work out which car it is.
Car. It's the 44 car, which had been quickest. It's Fontes' car.
So where has that yellow car ended up is the next question.
Stopped. It has certainly stopped. Or at least it's not. No, it's not stopped. It's making its way back slowly, I think.
So that's the SVP Motorsport car. At the moment, we have a red flag now. For a time, it was covered by yellows, and yellow flags mainly because of the wheel that was loose in the gravel trap. The car was actually working its way back on the three wheels with white flags covering that area, but more sensible, I think, to stop the session. And we have stopped the session, 8 minutes and 49 seconds remaining.
But just before that, Tony Wells actually put in the session leading time in the number 79 Nielsen Motorsport car. This is still in its Courier Cost livery, where it raced and won twice in the brand new UK, the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup in the UK at Donington Park, in the hands of not Tony Wells, who was actually driving a rival car, but Colin Noble, who'll join him in the race tomorrow. Here we can see, there you go.
Already starting to work its way loose, wasn't it? Lots of tyre smoke. No, it's a rear left, isn't it? It's the rear left that's come off the car, and it's surprising because the driver, Alvaro Fontes, had actually set the provisional pole. Yeah. So clearly the wheel was on okay for that first lap. I just wonder whether he smacked a curb that has loosened it, or of course it could have been on its way off the hub throughout that whole provisional pole lap, and then eventually something had to give through the Curva Grande, where the car is really leaning on that left-hand side.
And the centre of the wheel is still there.
Yes.
So it's not a broken wheel.
No. So some kind of hub failure, or, I mean, generally the wheel nut is designed to, if it's loose, it's designed to tighten as it vibrates rather than to loosen. So it's a strange one. And certainly in the interval between qualifying and the race, I'll be heading down to SPV Motorsport just to find out exactly what the issue was there. But all the other wheels have remained on the cars, which is good to see. Maybe just a rogue bit of a component, and that could be easily solved, assuming there's been no damage done to the hub. No damage to the wheel, so that suggests no damage to the car. But SPV will get that car back if they can, as this great queue out of Ascari of 5 LMP3 machines works its way down the straight at a significantly reduced pace. Clearly no overtaking permitted under a red flag, and this line of 5 cars about to flood the pit lane the other side of the Parabolica, Graham.
Indeed, and what we've got now, the number 79 car then leads the session. The cars make their way back. So Tony Wells from the number 3 car that led the session up until almost the end there. 65, third quickest at the moment. 55, sorry. And it shows 65 on our scoring, timing scoring. Oh, sorry, it is a 65. It's the Graf Racing car. I do apologise. Then the 53 car, the early session leader. That's the M Racing YMR car, the Ivan Muller owned team. Ivan not here this weekend. He's on World Touring Car duties. Then Eric Dodonka in his Motorsport 98 car, 6th quickest. The N Race number 99, the 33 car, the Ibrahim Pardo Javier car.
Looking at Ross Warburton, by the way, in the RLR Motorsport machine, and he shares that car with Alex Capadia.
Alex Capadia actually just relaying to me that he believes that is the car that's lost the wheel out on the circuit is the same car that, well, that was the car that he believes raced for Murphy Prototypes at Imola last year in the LMS, and lost a wheel out the circuit then as well.
Oh, really? Yes. Okay. Graham is the sort of man who tracks chassis numbers and tries to get the history of these cars, but that's an interesting coincidence.
Well,
isn't
it is rather. It is interesting when you see these Ligiers around the world to just spot the progress of deliveries to these cars. I think the highest numbered car here, now bear in mind, this is not yet a 2-year-old car. The highest numbered car I've spotted so far is this one, actually. This is Eric Dodonka in the Motorsport 98 car. And this, I think, is chassis number 83.
Yes.
And they've now sold well over 100 and have delivered, I believe, well over 90.
Very smart helmet design for Eric Dodonka with the 98 on the side of the lid, if you like, and it's a smart paint job on that car as well, very Dutch.
It is, and he'll be joined by, ex-Aston Martin factory driver, ex-Bentley factory driver, ex-Delta Wing factory driver Andy Merrick for the race tomorrow, and I think Andy actually enjoying his LMP3 racing very much indeed. He's got a mixed season this year with the LMP3 team here, and with Bullet Racing from the storied Dave Price and Bullet Racing in the McLaren GT4 around Europe. So he's keeping himself very busy.
I say very Dutch, it's got orange on it, but the team is actually Belgian, as is Eric, by the way, so I should get that right. Sharing with Andy Merrick, as you say, and that is the 55 car on the pit lane apron, which is the Spirit of Race entry. Claudio Sidanovic and Maurizio Bediani, the silver-graded driver, will be sharing that come the race. Now, recovery vehicle, presumably now with a wheel on the back of it.
I think it's got the car on the back of it as well.
Right, so the car didn't get too much further along the track there.
No, he didn't. I think he just discretion, the better part of valour, and will be coming wrong way back to the pit lane under clearance, I'm sure, from race control.
And that looks like the exit of the second Lesmo. Whereas the wheel, I believe, well, maybe it's the Curva Grande.
It's Curva Grande, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out. The wheel certainly fell off at Curva Grande, but I'm trying to work out how much further the car got to. But bearing in mind, if it was the Lesmos, then that car would have had to negotiate the second chicane. Bit tricky on three wheels. So yes, probably Curva Grande exit is where that yellow SPV Motorsport car ended up.
Well, interesting here, Motorsport 98 have released the car to go to the end of pit road. I'm pretty certain you're not. Oh, they are all queuing. Now, there was a regulation, certainly in, I think, WEC, you don't queue at the end of the pit lane under a red.
Right, well, it is possible that all of these teams have got the regulations wrong.
Driver being brought back to the pits there?
No, yes. No. But it's good to see fans, young and old, assembling here at Monza. What a beautiful day we have now. The weather forecast looked terrible coming here, and we have had our fair share of storms. The session will restart on a short call. Yeah, storms overnight Thursday into Friday. Friday into Saturday as well was a significant electrical storm. There's been rain for much of yesterday, but today is fantastic. Temperature nice and high, barely a cloud in the sky, and a great location and weather conditions to watch motorsport. There is the rear left popping off the car. The car following the SPV machine did well actually to avoid that, because we could have had a wheel into the side of that Ligier, and the session very quickly stopped.
A fair amount of damage can be done, of course.
Green flag, so the session restarts, and yes, car and wheel very much detached, but there is the SPV Motorsport car being stretched back to the paddock, and assuming that via the inroads that the car can be returned to the garage relatively quickly, we may see it again in the session. Then again, it brought out the red flag, so probably the rules suggest it may not be able to rejoin the session. 8 minutes to go, and Tony Wells certainly a car to look out for. That's the number 79 Nielsen Racing machine.
Everybody else back out on track, Johnny, with the exception of the 44 car.
Yeah.
And by the way, correction, it wasn't that car that Alex drove. It was the 33 car that lost its wheel.
Okay. So we were trying to draw connections that weren't there. Now, out of the second Lesmo goes the only Norma in the field, driven by Jean Glorieux, the Belgian, sharing with Alexander Toril, and that Norma with a spectacular paint job. DKR Engineering from Luxembourg. Car just snaking its way through the Escari sequence of corners.
Much the quickest car in one of the two free practice sessions the cars have had so far. Half a second up on the field. But remember, this is the qualifying session where we don't see the pro drivers aboard the cars. But the interesting thing here is if that car can be in the mix at the top of this session, that bodes very well indeed for DKR Engineering. So 1:47 dead, that car actually managed in free practice one. That is the quickest time we've seen so far this weekend from any of the runners.
And DKR Engineering going to be very much present in the Road to Le Mans race come June. They have another Norma stored up somewhere. They're trying to get drivers established for that, we understand, and also an Ades which is expected at Le Mans as well, which will be a third chassis not represented here this weekend.
But that Des will have at the wheel none other than Yajiro Terada. 29 starts at the Le Mans 24 Hours, going back into the 70s for Terada-san. Fabulous stuff, and great to see him back. And yeah, that Road to Le Mans race has got a number of really big names joining the fun. I think is it 3 or 4 class wins at Le Mans for Yujiro Terada?
Now you're asking. 4, it looks like. First took part in the great race in 1974, and
with the first ever Japanese car, I believe, that started.
Right, okay, which is the Sigma MC74 with the Mazda engine. Class wins in 83, 88, 1990 and 1996 for Terada. So yes, as you say, great to have Terada back as part of the race. Albeit not in the main one, but as part of the Road to Le Mans.
I think he's now 70 years old, and I'm sure he's looking forward to this thoroughly. But meanwhile, back to action on track. And the car's about to get to fast lappery again, and immediately purple sectors appearing for both Tony Wells and for Gloria in this lovely lucky Norma. Needle-nosed, I think you'd say, is the look for this car. And interesting to see, by the way, that the otherwise identical Ligiers, how different the paint jobs can make these cars look.
Yes, they take on very different forms, don't they, sometimes, depending on how they've been painted. Adrian Schiller finds improvement there, but to the top of the times is Jean Glorieux in the number 3 Norma, so managing to go quite a bit quicker than Tony Wells. 0.378 of a second is the gap now between car 3 and car 79. So the Norma tops the field, bearing in mind all the other cars in this field are Ligier.
Yeah, and he did that all in sector 1, because the two fastest second and third sectors of the session both went to Tony Wells in sectors 2 and 3, within hundredths of Gloria, but Gloria took 4/10 out of him in the first sector, and that was enough. That was the gap. So a quick first sector for the Norma was enough to grab the pole position, or the provisional pole. 4 minutes to go, and he's going quicker again in sector 1. This could be a bit of a banner day for the Norma.
Also some movement for 4th position on the grid, with N-Race and Alain Costa going quicker than the Bakker driven car. So Costa up to 4th fastest now with a 150.057, and it's about 2.5 seconds that separate 1st to 4th. Very, very tight though between the top 2 drivers right now, and this looks to be a ding-dong scrap between DKR Engineering and the Nielsen Racing number 79.
Yeah, but the number 3 Norma driver, Gloria, is about to put this, I think, a little more out of Tony Wells' reach. At 2 purple sectors, sector 1 and sector 2, and quicker, much quicker than Tony Wells in both of those sectors. Tony, I think, may well be gathering himself for another crack after this one, because he's not going to match this. At the moment, 1:47.5 becomes 1:46.976. That is the fastest time of the weekend so far, including the pros.
Matthijs Bakker still 5th fastest. We have Laurent Milara, who set the early pace in the session prior to the red flag. Car 53 is 6th fastest for M Racing. Fontes' time, despite the car being out of the session, still good enough for 8th place. As I say that, Sean Lynn goes quicker in the number 23 United Autosport Ligier. So Sean Lynn is one of 2 bronze drivers in the number 23 car, and that car up to 8th fastest. But Glorieux finding more time on that lap, 0.924 of a second now, the difference between Jean and Tony, 3 and 79.
Good improvement there from Sean Lynn. They've had their troubles this weekend as well. The 23 car suffering a puncture in Sean's hands in free practice 1 and missing most of the running there. Blameless, I'm afraid. Looked like he picked up a bit of debris, but holding the time came back in. But Gloria off the power. Tony Wells, though, not. Tony got his foot down here, as has Chila. Can they do anything about the pace that the Norma has shown? At the moment, it is the DKR Engineering car from the Nielsen Motorsport car from McGrath Racing.
And a slightly slower lap that time for Alain Costa in the number 99 car, but otherwise everyone is still finding time, all steadily improving. We haven't got too much shuffling in the order of the 15 cars, But we are seeing personal best times up and down the field as Tony Wells is up again. Adrian Schiller improving on this lap, as is Matthijs Bakker. The number 33 car, there is Matthijs indeed at the Parabolica. So we'll stay focused on Bakker through this final right-hand swoop as an absolute best time comes through for Tony Wells. Now that doesn't improve his position, still second fastest for car 79. Here comes Bakker as Glorieux pits. So Jean Glorieux may be thinking that's as much as time that can be found. Bakker up to fourth. The number 33 car does improve then to fourth place for the Ibrahim Pardo Javier entered car.
Yeah, you're right, Tony Wells didn't improve his position, but he did take 7/10 of a second out of his best time, and he brings that gap down to just 2/10 of a second. And what can he do? What will be his last flying lap? He improves his best first sector, but he needs to do the same in sectors 2 and 3 to have any chance of just snatching that pole position. It's been a great couple of laps from the number 3 DK Engineering Norma to get them there. Can Tony Wells snatch it back?
Alvaro Fontes will be frustrated not to be part of this session because the SPV Motorsport car is slipping down. The time's now 10th. So Sedanovic has improved to go 8th. Sean Lynn is 9th. Eric de Donker in the Motorsport 98. Ligier is 7th fastest, and also Laurent Millara on the move as Tony Wells goes quicker than anybody else through the middle sector. So here is Tony at the Variante Ascari. A ragged exit, 1 second, 0 seconds. The checkered flag's about to be displayed to anyone then to cross the line now, and nobody else going to squeeze more laps out of this. But Tony Wells, what can he do on this final lap then for the 79 Nielsen Racing Ligier? Personal best through sector 1, an absolute best through sector 2. Can he finish it off with a great sector 3 time? It is a 1:46.9 to try and beat. 54 thousandths of a second. Tony Wells comes so close to it, but in the end is not a personal best for him through that final sector. Adrian Schiller improves on that final lap, but doesn't improve his position. Third place for the 65. Matthijs Bakker is home. No improvement for Matthijs in the 33 car. But what I really was impressed with there was quicker times throughout the session, with quite some consistency. In the end, though, the order of the top 4 did not change, Graham.
That was one heck of a go at it from Tony Wells, though, but it doesn't take anything whatsoever away from that pole position time from the DK Engineering squad. And their lovely number 3, Norma, Jean Glorieux, will be delighted with that. The team will be delighted with that. That's a good start to their campaign. And the point, of course, for pole position in this championship.
Still waiting for Alain Costa to come over the line. A personal best through sector 1, but not a personal best through sector 2, so not expecting him really... oh no, Costa did improve, yeah, up to 5th place to usurp Laurent Millara. And Millara, who, as I say, was the early pole setter, slipped to 6th position by the end of it.
Still waiting for Nico Pronk to come through. He has made some improvements here. He's a little way off the rest of the field. He's going to be the last man through. It was a 1:55.7 from Nico. He takes a further 7/10 of a second out of that, but will stay 15th. But that was a pretty engaging encounter. Jean Glorieux from Tony Wells.
And Adrian Schiller coming within half a second, or just under 6/10 of a second of Jean Glorieux as we confirm the times. DKR Engineering then, driven by Jean Glorieux, number 3, a 1:46.978 to take pole position by 54 thousandths of a second from the Nielsen Racing Tony Wells, number 79, driven Ligier. Third fastest was Adrian Schiller. Matthijs Bakker was 4th quickest, and then it was Adrian Costa in the number 99 car finishing 5th. Charlie George, though, has quickly headed down to DKR Engineering to get a word with Jean Glorieux.
Yeah, thanks, guys. John, you must be delighted with that. The first pole position of the season, and, of course, a pole position for the Norma as well. There's not many of those in this field.
No, that's correct. We're very delighted with that, especially with on such a nice track and with this kind of nice cars. So very happy to start the race later this afternoon, and hope we can continue on that in that direction.
Well done, great job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, leaving it fairly late and then being chased down by Tony Wells. That was a good watch, that session. Plenty of improvement, as I say, by most of the drivers, because, well, looking at the 7th, 8th, 9th lap for most of those cars, we saw improvement on probably about 10 of them. So really quick times coming in late on in the session. There will be frustration down at SPV Motorsport though, because through no fault of their own, that wheel coming off through the Curva Grande, and I'm sure there was more time to be found there. So that draws to a close our qualifying session for the first round of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Join us for the race later on today. Bye for now.